importance of a computer science degree in tech jobs. Now, you might have heard some people saying that computer science degree is completely irrelevant to your industry and to what your work to what you will do in the industry, and it's a complete waste of time, and it's outdated, and so on and so forth. And on the other side, you'll say, hey, what are you talking about? If you just take up a small bootcamp course or a Udemy degree, you will learn how to create an app, maybe, but you'll not have a proper understanding of how computers really think. Your career becomes stagnant. You become basically like a script kiddie, and so on and so forth. Now, the question now comes up is, okay, so how do you make a judgment on whether or not to take a CS degree, if it is even relevant these days, in what to do about, especially if you're considering to take a CS degree. Now, okay, so first things first, computer science is not really computer programming. Now, computer programming is about giving instructions to computer, and when the internet started, or when I say started, I mean proliferating. One of the things that happened is that a lot of people, and when the dot-com generation started, with a lot of businesses started on the internet. One thing that came up is that people could create websites and services online and sell them and make money and create businesses out of internet. It required less logistics, less sort of infrastructure, less investment, at least upfront, to create businesses. And therefore, businesses or companies surrounding internet started to become a big thing, and for obvious reasons, creating internet is obviously, looking back, when they said internet is the future, some people were scared of it, some people were skeptical, some people were really on it, and the people who were on it, regardless of who you were at that point in time, today internet is just not a novelty anymore. It's a norm. It's something that drives our jobs, especially today in the COVID-19 pandemic. Most of the people who are working at home, or if not most of the people are actually working through the internet, and so internet is an inevitable, is an unnatural extension of a human being. So therefore, now the thing that came up is, okay, so there are a lot of business opportunities, there are more people, there are more customers, there are a lot of things that are happening on the internet, and therefore there is more business opportunities here. And that's why the amount of careers, or I'm sorry, the amount of jobs went up in the space of creating digital technologies. Okay, now when I say computers, usually your computer is not just made of an operating system. There are different layers. You and I, when you're watching this YouTube video, you are interacting with the application layer. Now, you are interacting probably with the YouTube app on your phone, or Google Chrome, or Safari, or Firefox, or any web browser, or the YouTube app, or wherever you're watching this. You're viewing this on an app, but that's called the application layer. And then there's the operating system layer, and then there's so many layers down there. Now, obviously, to create all these different software, so basically a computer is composed of two things: hardware, the thing that is tangible, like your computer, your laptop, or your desktop, or your phone, or your wrist, or your watch, whatever that is. And you also have your software, so things like iOS, macOS, Windows, and Linux, and so on and so forth. Now, these are the two fundamental things. Now, a software has different levels. So things like the operating system it holds the base for all your applications. So it's what interacts with, let's say, your keyboard, your mouse, your touch, it understands all these different things and gives it to the application. The application does the function. Now, there are more jobs in the application layer, obviously, because it's easier to operate in that level, because there's a larger community. There's a lot of resources for you to learn and benefit from, as opposed to businesses in operating in the lower level. So businesses operating in the hardware level, things like creating a computer or an integrated circuit or a microprocessor or any kind of hardware, it's actually relatively expensive and it requires more expertise than, let's say, creating stuff on the application layer. Now, you have less investment, as I said, in the application layer or in the software industry, at least upfront, as compared to the hardware industry. At least we're only talking about we're not talking about human resources, but we're just talking about the technological space here. So that's why the demand for jobs for creating things in the application layer went up. Now, the question that comes up is, why is it computer science? Okay, so when you say computer science is not computer programming, does it really mean that computer science is irrelevant? Actually, computer programming could be a part of computer science. Now, what else is covered in computer science? So computer science covers subjects like data structures, algorithms, operating systems. Yes, computer programming obviously comes inside these disciplines. You learn concepts, and you basically, in simple words, if I were to define what computer science is about learning to think like computers. Okay, so that's what you do in computer science. Now, is it really relevant? Like, if you're creating businesses, you actually need to think like a human. You need to empathize with people. That's what's called either a user experience designer, or if you're an entrepreneur, you need to understand people. But an engineer or a computer science engineer is basically interested in the thing, which is a computer. And obviously, if you talk about engineer, we all know it's about the study of things, right? Understanding things, machines. But when it comes to computer science, somehow a lot of people have misunderstood this, and sort of thought about computer science and computer programming to be the same thing, because of a lot of things that are happening in the industry and because of the proliferation of internet. Now, the thing that also computer science enables you to do is to make decisions, and it's sort of, when some people say that if you just take up a boot camp course or some Udemy course or some online course on some computer programming language, one of the things that happens is that your career becomes stagnant. I believe that it's partially true. And the reason it's partially true, if you don't take a computer science degree and if you just do this, is that yes, you will be able to take a good job, but what happens is, let's say if you want to innovate and you want to learn, okay, how do I improve the performance of of this little compiler? Okay, let's say for example you're programming and you find your IDE or whatever software you're using to develop your software, if the language or if the compiler is extremely difficult, and you think that there could be a better way to do things, you might not be able to operate in that level unless you have understanding of computer science. Now, degree, I'm not really sure about that part now, because, well, degree, well, that's a different discussion. But let's say, like the importance of degree in computer science or in tech companies has relatively gone down, and we'll talk about why in some time now. But basically, it's like, yes, it could be useful if you put that on your resume, one thing that happens is people subconsciously may notice, okay, you're basically are computer science. You've taken computer science, so you at least have gone through the experience of it, whether or not you really understood. At least you have the vocabulary of these things, so that could be a good thing in some employers. So it's sort of when you're completely new, if all you did is just a bunch of boot camp courses and online courses, and if you just say that I know these languages, um, it's sort of a risky thing for an employer to consider you. But a degree, maybe because it comes from a reputed school or for something, is definitely worthy of considering. And that's sort of the only reason why you may want to take a degree. It's sort of not you may want to take a degree. What I mean is, like, the only reason that maybe employers may consider a degree important. But there are more reasons to consider a computer science program. Now, whether that's a degree or not, or if you can do it by yourself, I'm not sure, because there is a lot of changes that is happening in the education sector. So yeah, so let's say from a few years from now, universities might not look the same way as it does, or as it does today, maybe or maybe not. But the point being that computer science is still relevant in a way that if you actually just understood the application layer, you may be able to create apps, but what happens is that you may not be able to operate on a very lower or you may not be able to control or understand the lower levels or inner workings of a computer system. And that creates problems, and especially when you want to innovate on a lower level. So I can give you numerous examples, right? So, for example, you want to create an operating system for your wearables or for your glasses. Let's say you want to create smart glasses. You want to create an operating system for your fridge, for your watch, for your you want to create an operating system for, let's say, a ring, whatever that is, right? You want to make computers smaller and smaller. If you want to create an operating system, I'm just using this example over and over again, but I'm sorry that I'm not able to come up with better cool examples, but this is an example nevertheless. You can, so to do anything like this, okay, and if you want to bring computers to more and more systems and how to sort of apply, and if you want to know how computers are capable of, if you have an understanding of the engine or the machine or inner workings of computers, and then you learn design or you learn about people, and if you want to be an entrepreneur, in my opinion, or a product manager, you need to have understanding of both. You need to have an understanding of the technology as well as business and people, and that's why, and that creates the perfect sort of, I guess, chemistry or combination to becoming a tech entrepreneur. And so if you're an engineer, one of the things one of the problems that people sort of point to by the people who don't want to take a degree is hey, look, there are so many engineers who don't have a job today. Well, taking a computer science degree and getting a job has almost nothing to do with each other. One of the things you will do in computer science is you will understand how computers think. Now, how to apply that to the market. Now, after you do that, or while you're doing a computer science, you need to develop industry-related skills. So, industry-related skills are things like, programming, but obviously there are programming is like it happens operates in different levels. Now, let's say if you're interested to get into the to machine learning or artificial intelligence or that kind of layer, you may want to learn about things like you may want to learn, yes, data structure and algorithms are pretty much the basics and fundamentals. But after you climb that, you may want to understand things like you may want to learn Python, and so, like, that's kind of easy, I guess. Python is, but the syntax itself is sort of easy. You can understand Python regardless of whether or not you really know programming. It's not so important to know programming to actually. I'm sorry, it's not so important to know computer science to know programming. But yes, when you learn programming, and if you wanna, and then you wanna learn computer science, it also kind of makes sense, because when you know programming, you will also understand. Okay, when you're learning about compilers, and when you're talking about abstract concepts like things that you may have never heard of, and then when you read about those things, you may be better be you may be able to better relate to those concepts than somebody who is not programmed, or who has not created business opportunities, or who has not worked in the tech market, than somebody who has or who hasn't. So you kind of get the picture, right? So yeah, that's why yes, businesses that operate on the hardware or on operating system level are maybe paid higher, or maybe paid premium, but for businesses it's more expensive to operate, and that's why the number, or the amount of jobs happening in these layers are kind of less. That's why not all tech jobs have eliminated the need for a degree, but it depends on which level of abstraction you go to. Let's say, for example, you walk into a company that does only e-commerce things. So, for example, if all you do is front-end design and development, you probably don't need to have an understanding of compilers, how actually computers process data and stuff like that, because your job is in your relevance to the company, or if I could say, your contribution to the company has nothing to do with changing the, let's say, the inner workings, or the capacity, or the numbers, or the performance of the machine. Your job is to make sure that the machine works well with the humans, and sort of and to reconcile that space, right? If that kind of makes sense. So if you're a designer or a front-end developer, your job has probably little to do with the computer science degree. But let's say you're getting into a space which has to do with a lower level of computer. Like, for example, let's say you're doing assembly, or you're creating microprocessors or things like that. A computer science degree, or any degree related to it, okay, for example, electronics and communication engineering, or I guess a lot of engineering, a lot of anything related to computer science, okay, or yeah, you get the point. So anything like those kinds of stuff could be essential, especially in these kinds of jobs. So, and it might not be necessary in some places, so long as you have an understanding. As we speak today, I want to also make it clear that education is also changing and evolving. So maybe I'm not talking about a degree, but yes, as I said, one thing that definitely helps the employer is, okay, well, he has a degree, at least he has the vocabulary, and I can trust him because he has gone through the experience, and he has the badge of a well-recognized institution. Okay, and that's sort of and that's actually a big benefit for the employer, because he's not employing some stranger. So there is a mutual beneficiary, if I could say, in between. So that sort of helps, right? So that said, a computer science degree could be useful. Now, so to summarize, I would say that a computer science degree is not essential to get a job in any of the programming jobs, okay? But yes, if you want to innovate, if you want to understand how things work, or how computers really think and work, and there are numerous applications, obviously, because if you want to operate, you want to get a job in a space that operates in a very low level, you're radically changing how computers think, or how microprocessors work, or let's say you're working on, I don't know, SpaceX. I think SpaceX does not have a requirement for degree. I'm not sure, but you get the point, right? So a lot of it's still not like all the jobs have not eliminated the need for degree, and that's important to be clear. When you hear news websites or these news articles saying Google and Facebook have eliminated the need for degree, they're talking maybe about maybe 75% of the jobs, or maybe 50% of the jobs. I'm not sure, but maybe a significant portion of the jobs. And maybe there is an improvement, but it doesn't mean that you only should be happy with understanding of programming, and that's important to note. So yes, taking computer science is relevant so long as you have the right intentions. Don't expect to get a job with just a degree. That's not sufficient. If you just have an understanding of data structure and all those concepts, it's also not sufficient, because maybe you can get into these companies with these fundamental concepts, but then when you get inside, you will learn that what's being applied in the industry. When you say being applied in the industry, you have to know what is the business, right? So in my opinion, engineers need to be taught a little bit of business as well, like to understand what really matters for the employer. Okay, even if you're not going to create a company, it's pretty useful to know what matters to an employer. Okay, or what creates businesses, and then you can understand the economics, or sort of where you can get paid more, or whatever is exactly that you're looking for. So my suggestion would be to learn computer science with something else, something that sort of adds value to your engineering degree. With that said, guys, I make videos like this on the regular basis every week, 3 times a week, on Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays. So be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this video, and I shall see you guys in the next video very soon. Goodbye.